Good morning, Liberty County. We are here before you again to update you on what's going on in Liberty County as far as our management and updating you as best we can on the COVID pandemic that's, as you very well know, still alive and well. We do want to compliment those of you who have been so compliant, and we want to remind you, though, we have been out and about, and we've seen several venues where people are not masking, so we're asking you to please mask or continue to mask. But basically, I want to thank you for your patience. It's been a while, but we're not there yet. So please, ma'am, please, sir, help us. As we watch the news daily, we look at what they term hot spots, and it is not our desire that Liberty County would be on the news as a hot spot. So we need each of us working together, working with our families, that we would maintain our status. We're proud that even though our numbers have gone up some, we have not lost any life. And even though the numbers have gone up, they have not gone up tremendously, very incrementally, so we're proud of that. That means somebody's doing a good job out there, and we have to believe that it's you. So thank you again for your compliance and your perseverance with this issue. At this time, we're going to bring you several updates from the entities that are present. We did have a meeting prior there too, a call conference where we heard from the different cities and everybody's together on this, so know that we are one band, one sound. You have asked us to provide that to you, and we're doing our level best to do that so that there will not be confusion in Liberty County from city to city or from county to city. So we're working very diligently on that. I will not take up a lot of time right now, but I will bring up to the podium Mayor Larry Baker from the city of Walthamville.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor Allen Brown from the city of Hinesville. I would like to personally, again, thank the citizens of Walthamville for a great job that we are doing during this time. We are planning to be a testing site. I haven't have a response back just yet for the date and the place. But to the citizens of Walthamville, again, I really want to say thank you to you, and we are all in this together, and we're going to get through it together. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor Baker and Chairman. Good words about us sticking together, and we're pretty good about doing that in this community and always have been. Good morning. It is good morning to Hinesville and Liberty County. I'd like to again say thank you to all of our citizens and residents of Hinesville and Liberty County for doing their part in slowing down the spread of the virus in the last several weeks. It's been a long time. I don't know how many weeks we've done this, but it seems like it's been about a year. I don't think it's quite that long. As you have no doubt seen and heard, Liberty County is now in a steady swing of testings, and with free testing being offered daily at various sites in the area by our friends at Diversity Health Center and the Georgia Department of Public Health. If you're like me, you've also been tracking the numbers in our county to monitor how we are doing. And you should have noticed by now that our confirmed cases numbers has slightly increased in the last several days. With increased action comes increased knowledge, meaning more testing finds more cases. And we did fully expect to see our numbers rise a little bit. I was concerned that they would rise an awful lot, but they haven't risen very much. I think we picked up 2 one day, 2 another, and maybe 1, and then I know the last 2 days we've had 0, so that's a pretty good sign. I would, though, ask you to continue being vigilant in your approach to interacting with others. Let's minimize that increase continually. To illustrate a point, I'd like to tell you a short story about a small ice cream shop in Massachusetts that opened or reopened over the weekend. You may have heard the story, but bear with me. They had very specific guidelines in place, and their employees knew what the social distancing rules were and how they were supposed to enforce them to be open. Some of their customers followed the rules, and as always, on how to interact with the shop and with the and how to make their purchases, but a lot of them did not. So you had the nice citizens that came in and did exactly what they were supposed to, and then you had that other group that came in and didn't distance properly, and anyway, they even flocked into the shop and harassed the poor employees, most of whom were high school students. They caused so much chaos and heartache over the course of the day that the owner decided that in his best interest and the best interest of employees, he'd just close it down again. But after an outpouring of support and encouragement from the community, by that decision. They decided to give it one more go and see if people could follow the rules, and guess what? Everybody followed the rules. I say that to drive home a simple point. We've all been cooped up. We've been deprived. And we're tired of this crazy way of life. Business owners in our city and county have had to make some hard choices to comply with Governor Kemp's orders to get back on track and drive our economy in the right direction. Support them by supporting their new rules. It's not forever, and we can all be adults, and we will make it through this thing together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kenneth Howard, City Manager for the City of Hinesville. Would like to also thank Chairman Lovett. Has done an outstanding job of bringing this team together. We're doing this consistently so that the public and the community can get a message that is consistently brought to you each and every week. So thank you for your leadership here. Also thank Mayor Baker from Walthamville. I want to touch on a few things and reiterate the point that was made in terms of increased testing. Increased testing is a key component to addressing the spread of the virus in this community or in any community for that matter. We are ramping that up tremendously. Just as an example, Diversity Health over the last week has administered over 700 tests, and out of those 700 tests, there were only 3 positive. And that is as the mayor stated, and as Chairman Lovett, that is a testament for the vigilant effort that we're making in the community, and you, as citizens of this community, you see the importance of basically social distancing, and so we are adhering to those guidelines accordingly, and that is so very important. I would like to just respond on a few things that Governor Kemp mentioned in his press conference yesterday. One is that he is encouraging everyone to continue to adhere to the social distancing guidelines and to continue wearing your mask, because that is so very important. I go out and I wear my mask, and sometimes I engage folks and they don't always get it. If I'm wearing a mask, it's for a reason. And some of them are social butterflies. They still want to engage you, and I, sometimes would have to back up and kind of say, okay, guys, I have to go and politely, excuse myself. But we want everyone to continue to follow those guidelines. It's so vitally important. One of the things that the governor emphasized as well is shelter in place for the medically fragile and the elderly are still in effect. Those things are still in effect. And so we are to be reminded that we're still fighting this virus as a community. In addition, the governor made some changes to his previous executive order, one being live entertainment, nightclubs and bars must remain closed until May 31st. If you recall, that date was, I think, May 12th, which is today. We've had several calls from nightclub owners and bars in the community as they were inquiring about what they need to do in order to prepare for the opening. And now this set it back at least a couple of weeks, and so we need to understand that it is for a reason. We're not there yet, so we have to stay the course to fight this virus and be very careful as to how we interact. In addition, the governor, he increased child care capacity from 10 to 20, and that is also another significant area that he touched on yesterday, because likewise we've received inquiries from those establishments, and we have responded accordingly, and so We just still say the same thing, one voice. Be careful, make sure that we adhere to those social distancing guidelines. Restaurants are now allowed to have 10 patrons per 300 square feet. They can also have a party of 10 as opposed to 6 as it was before. And so that is a change in his executive order. There are some other items related to summer camp. I think Mr. Brown may touch on some of those. But we want to make sure that you as a community understand that we are staying on top of these changes every week. When we come out, we want to make sure that we convey this to you. You can go on the City of Hinesville website. You'll find that executive order is there. It's also posted on our Facebook page. Diversity Health has been a tremendous resource to this community, and we also partner with them to post their schedule of pop-up sites in Liberty County, Long County, and Wayne County. There will be a mobile unit basically at City Hall next week. Please stay tuned for that, and we're highly recommending that if you haven't been tested, please, if you desire to get tested, you have an opportunity. Again, thank you for what you do, and stay safe.
Hey, thank you, Kenny. I'm Joey Brown. I'm the county administrator, and touch on a few things from the county operational angle for you. He did mention the governor's order that basically didn't change much. His new order now expires May 31st, so it'll be midnight actually on May 31st. So we look forward to seeing what some of those changes might be. One of the big things in the county through the recreation department has been in the provided daycare, actually day camps through recreation. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to crank those up. As Kenny mentioned, there were some requirements, pretty stringent requirements that were put in place for anybody that wanted to open a day camp or in fact have night campers. There are 32 requirements. I won't attempt to go through all those. Again, let me just say they're very stringent. We're analyzing those now to see if it's even possible for us to meet those demands in the name of safety for any potential day campers, and that's something that administration will analyze and take to the commission and obviously have direction and thought with the Recreation Board on also. Want to mention the pop-up testing site that was opened last week at our location at James Brown Park. The testing started about 8:30 that morning. By 8:30, I think there's a couple of shots that are going to come up for you, possibly some drone shots. We had about 65 cars in line when we started at 8:30. In fact, they cranked up a little bit early. That day, they tested 160 people at that site. We don't have the results back yet on how many, if any, were confirmed positive from that time. Those sites will continue as long as the demand is there. Right now, they have been moved now to Wednesdays by Department of Public Health from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock. And they close early. We've had some discussion about that with DPH. The reason they close early is they have to get the samples together and get those ready for transport. I know there had been some concern about folks needing to get off from work and go get tested. Again, I'm glad Kenny mentioned diversity. That continues to be a great, great outlet in the community. So if you're not able to make one of these pop-up testing sites, I encourage you to work through Diversity Health to be able to get that testing done. Dr. Davis does a weekly call. All of us here participate on. Liberty County's current case count is at 44, where, as Mayor Brown mentioned, it has been for a couple of days, thank goodness. Dr. Davis did emphasize in his talk today that there are still no assurances that once you have it, that you're immune to it from then on. So it is still very real. As the testing numbers go up, so will the case numbers, we're sure. So if we just practice some good common sense things here, I think we're going to be fine. The commissioners are looking at a transition plan for reopening buildings and services. Right now, the buildings are still closed to walk-in traffic. Workers are available in the offices to answer calls and deliver services. And again, as we mentioned last week, those numbers are available at those building locations. So please don't hesitate to call. We'll go ahead and tell you that obviously, as buildings open, there's going to be some limited traffic and distancing requirements that'll be put in place. Probably the number of people that are allowed into lobby areas are going to be limited. There will be extra sanitizing protocols that'll be in place for the patrons that choose to come in and the workers, and we will be asking visitors that want services to wear masks when they come in. Right now, we do continue as a critical workforce agency to follow the governor's order related to requirements that we have on ourselves, and we plan to continue doing that. The commission last week also looked at a basic phase-in plan for recreation services. I think it's their desire to get those back up and operational as soon as it's safe to do so. The park areas are still open for walking only at this time. And, you know, I think it's safe to say that in any kind of phase-in plan for those recreation services, they're going to be different. It's going to be a different protocol than before. Some of those areas may require reservations to be made where they didn't previously do that, like ball fields. Distancing still will be enforced, and in fact, we may limit the number of people that could be on those play fields or in those areas, you know, at one time. I think you're pretty likely to see that plan unfold pretty quickly, at least to try to get back to some of those phased-in services. We'll go ahead and say, though, that a lot of that's going to be self-monitored. We'll have staff there to be able to do that. But if things get out of hand, then they may have to be changed or retracted. I would mention, too, that we're unfortunately seeing some damage to some of our facilities where folks are taking it on their own to enter the fields or enter the facility without having authorization to do so. And I just want to assure you that, you know, obviously if we catch who's doing that, they'll be prosecuted. I want to touch again on elections. We start early voting next week. It will be at two sites, which are the typical two sites. One is at the old courthouse on Main Street here in Hinesville at the voter registration office, and one is at the Liberty County Community Complex on Highway 84 in Midway. That early voting will run from May 18th through June 5th from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Due to the COVID requirements, sanitizing and protectionary measures will be enhanced. Distancing requirements will be put in place, and this will then cause, in some cases, a limit on the number of persons that can be in the building location at one time. This may require some persons to have to sign in and return to their vehicles and wait to be contacted as some others exit the building. These requirements and those that will be inside the polling areas obviously will cause some delays, so please be prepared to wait. And please have patience with us and the workers who are trying so hard to allow you to exercise your right. Nobody will be denied the right to vote. Workers will be outfitted in PPEs, and voters are asked to wear masks if possible to those locations. No mask will be provided at those locations to voters, but voters are asked to wear their mask. And I guess just in closing, to echo some things that have already been said, and I'll try not to be too redundant, the virus is still here. What we started with over a month ago now hasn't really changed at all. It is still as dangerous and as contagious as it ever was. What you're starting to see are folks like myself who are getting tired of living in this, what has become a norm. But there's no guarantees, again, that you will or won't get it. I don't think it's anybody's desire to make another person sick or to be sick themselves. So I would just leave you with one thought, and that's just be smart, because we are still where we started. We're going to ride this thing out, and we'll all get back to normal hopefully one day. And with that, I'll yield back to Chairman Lovett. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Brown, Mayor Brown, and Mayor Baker, Mr. Howard. Those of you who are in the audience, just want to close by saying, as a community, we have decided that we're going to be cohesive in our decision-making so that the citizenry are not confused about what's going on, what's required, or what's being requested, I should say, in Liberty County. I did tell the group earlier that, you know, certainly we have to abide by the governor's order, and we constantly seeking and following the CDC guidelines. But there may be some things that, as a community, we encourage that we invoke ourselves. That may be a strong word, but we invoke ourselves, i.e., we don't have to hurry up and do anything. You know, we can take our time to maintain the safety of our citizens. So just know that that may be part of the discussion that you hear in the very future. So citizens, when you see your mayors and city council persons, please commend them for working together as a cohesive body. It's been a great experience. I wish I knew when the expiration date was going to come, but I don't. Well, so we just saying whenever. In the call this morning, Dr. Davis mentioned, and listen, I was out Saturday. In fact, I'll just say, Hobby Lobby. And it was good to be in the shopping center. It was good to see some activity. But had you heard Dr. Davis's presentment this morning about he just said a restaurant where there were some people who were out having a fun evening, and from that party there was someone who was ill. As a result, some other folk were exposed. So we're not out of the woods yet. We're not out of the woods yet. I promise you, want to see the economy to recover, because so much of what the county and cities does depend on that. And we know you business owners, you're hurting. We know barbers and salons. We know. But we would not trade that for loss of life. So let's put that first. Let's be careful. It can be done. So just work with us. Let's work with the CDC guidelines, and we'll work our way back into it. So the economy can recover, but yet people can be safe. That's our desire. That's what you hear from us as a cohesive body. So thank you, Liberty County, once again, for being attentive to our presentations, and we look forward to coming back before you again next week with a new update. Thank you. Have a great day.